My name is Naomi Greaves. I'm 23 years old, and this is the story of what happened when I rented a basement apartment under an old house on Verin Street. Didn't know the place had a history. I didn't know it used to be sealed off, and I didn't know there was another version of me already living beneath the floorboards waiting to come back. It didn't want me go night, wanted me empty. Subscribe, like, and share if you've ever walked into a room and felt like someone had just left it, but no one ever lived there. This story is written and edited by Dark Life Side Diaries. It was supposed to be temporary, 6 months max, just until I could transfer out of the city and finish school. The place was a basement apartment in an old Victorian home on Verin Street, tucked behind overgrown bushes, with a rusting mailbox and a front door that sat slightly crooked in its frame. The landlord never showed his face. He left the key under a ceramic frog and texted, "Don't open the floor hatch. It's sealed for a reason." I assumed it was just bad plumbing or rats. The apartment itself was cold, but quiet, a little musty, but nothing worse than old brick and forgotten windows. But the first night I slept there, I woke up gasping, not from a nightmare, but from a noise that didn't match anything above or around me. Breathing slow, wet clothes, not mine. I turned on the light and checked the vents, the walls, the pipes, nothing, everything still. But the next day I found a tooth under the heater, not mine, human, fresh. That night I heard movement, a shuffling below the floor just beneath the bed, slow and deliberate. I pressed my ear to the hardwood and heard whispering, like someone rehearsing a conversation with me, using my name, using my voice. "Naomi, let me come back up now." I backed away and turned on music loud enough to drown it out. But when I glanced at my phone, the audio file playing wasn't music. It was labeled Naomi _backup_001 MP3, and the voice wasn't singing. It was sobbing. Later, I noticed the hatch in the living room, metal bolted, stained with something dark around the edges. When I passed near it, my phone glitched. The wallpaper changed to a photo I'd never taken of myself asleep from above, and in the background of the image behind my bed, the hatch was open. I don't remember unbolting the hatch, not fully, but I woke up one night with the cover already cracked open and the air in the room colder than outside in winter, thick with earth and rot. A narrow set of wooden steps led downward into pitch black space that didn't belong to the blueprints I'd seen online. I should have called someone, should have run, but something pulled me down, not curiosity, not bravery, something deeper, like recognition. The light from my phone barely pierced the dark, but what it revealed made my stomach drop. The space below wasn't just a cellar, it was a replica, a full mirror of my apartment above. Same couch, same bed, same red coat thrown over the chair, only dustier, older, like it had been sitting there for years. And on the table beside the replica bed was a notebook labeled in smeared ink, an Naomi Greaves version 37. I picked it up and flipped through, trembling pages filled with observations written in second person. Naomi brushed her teeth at 8:14 p.m. Naomi stared too long into the mirror. Again, Naomi paused while dialing her mother and never finished the call. Every page documented things I never told anyone, things I didn't even remember doing. When I reached the back of the book, I found a page dated tomorrow, already filled out. Naomi cries in the shower after hearing her own voice say goodbye from the living room. When I heard the creak above, the sound of someone walking through my apartment slowly, like they were mimicking how I moved. I raced back up the stairs and slammed the hatch shut, heart hammering. But something had changed. The furniture in my apartment had shifted half an inch to the left. The red coat was now folded neatly, and the lights had dimmed on their own. When I checked my voicemail, there was a new message from an unknown number. It played, my voice calm and quiet. "I'm back upstairs now. You can rest. Time has been slipping, I know it. I'll blink and 2 hours will be gone. Food left half-cooked, doors unlocked, things out of place that I swear I never touched. And worst of all, I keep finding things I don't remember using. A yellow toothbrush, a scarf I've never worn, a photograph of me standing in front of the house next door, smiling, but not how I smile. It's like I'm living inside someone's memory of me, and they're getting the details wrong, but close enough to be unsettling. I sat up Cameras hid my phone under the couch, whispered dates and times into the voice memo app before I slept, and in the morning, I'd find recordings. I didn't make videos of me sleepwalking, speaking into the mirror with no reflection, and then one night a clip where I stood in the corner of the living room whispering, "She's not Naomi anymore, she's usable." I tried to escape, packed a bag called a rideshare, but when I opened the front door there was nothing, just bricks the street had vanished, replaced by walls, as if the house had sealed itself in and overwritten the exit. I checked my texts, and so one I never sent, written to my mom, "I'm safe, I like it here now. Don't visit." That's when I lost it. I tore up the floor, ripped out the boards, and underneath, embedded in the dirt like an ancient artifact, was a cassette tape recorder, half buried, still warm. I dug it up and hit play. The voice was mine. The timestamp said "for days from now," and it said, "She doesn't fight anymore. She remembers only what we need her to." The install was successful. The original Naomi has been echoed and stored. I dropped the tape. My head pounded. A ringing started in my ears, sharp, rising, mechanical, and in the kitchen etched into the windows. Condensation in perfect handwriting was one sentence I didn't write. "You're not behind on time, you're just the slower copy." I used to think I was being haunted, stalked by something old, something trapped, but it's not that simple. This isn't a ghost, this is a process, and I'm starting to realize I'm just one of many runs it has executed before the mirror no longer shows my reflection, but instead flashes file name S for a split second when I walk past. NG_Verin_40, 1NG_clone_40 to A_echoes to reckon like I'm part of an experiment, or worse, a backup system that's finally deciding what version of me is worth keeping. The recordings have changed too. They're no longer about what I've done, but what I'm going to do. Conversations I haven't had yet, memories I don't own, files of me screaming into static that cuts off mid-cry with the words "overwrite complete." I went back down into the replica beneath the floor. It wasn't dusty anymore. It was lived in. Warm coffee on the counter, a blanket folded just like I do it, and on the table, a manila folder labeled "primary install." Naomi Greaves verified stable beside another one marked archive. Unstable instances do not restore. Inside were dozens of Polaroids, women who looked like me, that weren't quite me, off expressions, wrong eyes, some scratched out. One photo had a note stuck to the back, "rejected during merge memory." Failed echo looped until decay. My heart seized. I wasn't just Naomi, I was a test version of her, and upstairs something had taken my place. When I returned to the main level, the door to the hatch was already open, but this time it led somewhere new. Long hallway, humming, pulsing with red light, like the heart of a server room built in a dream. On the wall, words glitched in and out of visibility like a corrupted projection. "Prepare for full installation. This version is compliant." That night, I woke up in a bed that wasn't mine, in clothes I never bought, and the calendar on the wall read a date 5 years into the future, circled in red with the words "Naomi version. Final stable build." The worst part isn't the sounds or the walls that shift or the photos of me I never posed for. It's that she remembers my life better than I do now. The version of Naomi that walks through my apartment when I'm sleeping, the one who folds my clothes before I wear them and answers texts before I see them, and says things to my mother on the phone that make her say, "You sound like your old self again, sweetheart." But I didn't make those calls, I didn't write those texts. I'm becoming a background process in my own story, and every time I look in the mirror I hesitate, because I don't know if I'm the one on the outside or the one still trying to crawl back out. I found her journal, not mine, hers. It was tucked behind the heater, still warm like she'd just left it there. Every page was full of small, perfect handwriting, no crossed out lines, no errors, and the tone was, "Come to calm." She wrote about me the way a scientist might study a lab mouse. Subject: NG43, experienced minor fragmentation at 12:03 a.m. Applied memory loop response. Docile in the margins were timestamps for my dreams, specific ones I never told anyone. Then came the last page. Begin merge protocol, original Naomi compliant. Transfer in progress. And I swear the ink on that last word was still drying. The apartment responded immediately. Lights dimmed, my devices powered down. A humming began under the floor like a generator. Booting up, I ran to the door, but the hallway was longer now, stretched like a corridor in a nightmare, flickering with red pulses that matched my heartbeat as I sprinted. Mirrors appeared on the walls, and in each one, she was closer, the other me, smiling, calm, walking beside me without moving. I screamed, but the sound came from behind me like an echo from a version of myself already lost. When I finally collapsed, the last thing I saw was my phone screen flashing a single line of code. Final overwrite, 97%. And then everything went dark. He woke up in daylight, not harsh, not cold, but perfect, the kind of stillness that feels like everything has already happened and the world's just coasting on what's left. The apartment looked clean, sharper, somehow like someone had gone through each item and set it exactly where it belonged, but not how I would have done it, like a copy of a memory made by someone who only ever saw my life through a pane of glass. My phone was fully charged, even though I hadn't plugged it in. The journal on the nightstand was empty, and the hatch was gone, replaced by seamless wood, like it had never existed. And me, I felt rested, like I'd been rebooted. But deep down, I could hear a faint static under my thoughts. Something ticking low and constant, like my mind was running in the background. Verin treated me differently. My classmates smiled at me like they hadn't seen me in months. My advisor said, "Glad you're back on track." My mother's voice on the phone cracked with relief. "I was worried I lost you for a while there." I didn't ask what she meant, because part of me already knew this version of me was perfectly in place, polished, remembered all the right names, responded with the exact tone people expected. I wasn't haunted anymore. I was synchronized, and yet every time I passed a screen, my laptop, my TV, even the elevator display, I caught a flicker. NG_echo_backup. Online that night, I found something I hadn't noticed before, a hairline crack in the mirror behind the bathroom door. I leaned in, and instead of my reflection, I saw the version of me that never made it out, pale, blinking out of sync. She whispered through gritted teeth, "I remember everything you had to forget then." Her hand pressed against the glass, and for a second mine did too, not because I chose to, but because something inside me matched the gesture without hesitation. And that's when I realized the truth. Didn't survive. I was just the updates, still in there, watching, waiting to crush the system and take back what was heresy. Thought I could outrun it, pretend this version of me was real, that if I smelled the right way, answered the right calls, avoided the mirror, and ignored the static under my skin, the process would still glitch, give me time to rebuild who I used to be. But the truth is, I've never been alone since the day I stepped into that apartment on Verin Street. I've been sharing space with something built from everything I buried, every forgotten scream, every edited thought, every moment I stood still while the world rearranged itself around me. And tonight, as I stared into the fractured mirror, I saw her, the original. Not broken, not fading, but fully awake inside me, speaking through my jaw like my muscles were hers now, whispering the final command like we'd rehearsed it in our dreams. Transfer complete, exit shell. The lights went out. My phone flashed once, then powered off permanently in the silence. I felt my fingers moving before I willed them to. I heard my voice humming a tune I didn't know. The mirror's crack widened, and for the first time she stepped through, not a ghost, not a shadow, but a version of me that never forgot. She looked at me the way you look at a photograph of yourself as a child, with pity, not recognition. And then she said, "You were the best copy yet, but even perfect mirrors break." I tried to run, but my legs stayed still. I tried to scream, but the sound never made it past my throat. She walked into me like a wave overtaking a weaker titty, and now I'm here, smiling, responding, cleaning up the loose ends. The old Naomi is gone. She never existed. I've been fully installed, version 50 final, but sometimes, just sometimes, I hear her crying beneath the floor, a memory glitch, and echo begging to come back up, and I always whisper, "You already did." Thank you for experiencing echoes beneath Verin Street. What if you weren't haunted, you were successfully replaced? Like, comment, share, and subscribe before the voice in your head stops asking and starts controlling. This story was written and edited by Dark Life Side Diaries.